The Eagles fly into Chicago as 9-point favorites with a mini playoff game looming Christmas Eve in Dallas. We'll ask Sal Pao whether this might be a trap game and whether the MVP is Jalen's to lose. Sean Green has a chilly over-under setup for you. Tony Cutillo set your playoff fantasy lineup. And let's do a little get off my lawn decor. That's all right now on This Week in Pro Football.
It's time for This Week in Pro Football. A deep dive into the key issues and marquee matchups in the National Football League. For the next 60 minutes, we invite you to sit back or lean in with host Pat Callahan as we preview the week's Eagles matchup, big games, breaking stories, and all news NFL. It's This Week in Pro Football, right now on JAKIB Media Sports.
All right. Hello, everybody. Pat Callahan joining you for week number 15 of This Week in Pro Football here on JAKIB Sports. Why don't you give me a follow on Twitter at TWIPFPat. You can follow the network at JAKIB Sports. Incidentally, JAKIB setting all kinds of records here. We've added 16,000 subscribers so far this year, and the network is reaching about 500,000 people a month on each of both Twitter and YouTube. So going very well here, and we want you to be a part of the explosive growth of JAKIB Sports. Thanks very much for watching. All right, we got the usual ton of things to talk about. The usual suspects will be joining me to talk about them as we get ready and get set almost for the playoffs here in the National Football League. Sal Pao will be joining me in just a few minutes, talking about Eagles-Bears and, of course, the continued wondrous year of Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Just some amazing milestones the Eagles are reaching as a team. We'll be going through that and then going around the league a little bit, and we'll talk some fantasy at the bottom of the hour, talk with Sean Green later on about some over-unders and also some injuries and the T. Higgins saga and the New Orleans Saints saga. Sean will have some opinions on that. And then we'll wrap it up with a little get off my lawn here about the NFL's insistence on having as many fans die of freezing to death as they can. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But for now, how about a little what the hell's going on out there? Xander, thank you very much. It's MVP silly season here as everybody jockeys to talk about who should be MVP. You know, it's going to be a quarterback. I guarantee you that much. There are no they just don't do non-quarterbacks anymore. It's been 9 straight years of quarterbacks in the NFL, and of the 63 years in which the Associated Press has awarded the league's MVP, 44 of them have been quarterbacks. So it's going to be Hurts or Mahomes. I think Josh Allen may have dropped out. We'll talk with Sal more about that and the Jalen Hurts MVP case in just a few minutes. This is what I was talking about in the open here. Hey, it's December. How about we do some night games here? Saturday night in Buffalo, 20 degrees, 25 degrees at kickoff. Monday night in Green Bay is supposed to be between 10 and 15. So what's a little hypothermia amongst season ticket holders? I just think it's absolutely ridiculous, but we'll talk about that later. Playoff seeds are shaping up. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Just some startling numbers being put up by the 2 Southern divisions. I'm going to talk, hopefully I'll have time to talk to Sal about that. The AFC South, the NFC South, just 2 disasters in the NFL's 32-team, 8-division setup. A little bit of who are these guys? And by that, I mean, I'm talking about quarterbacks in this league right now. And it happens every year that so far this year in the National Football League, 54 players have lined up and started games as quarterbacks in the NFL for the 32 teams, including my favorite, the Los Angeles Rams have actually started 4, including Baker Mayfield's wondrous game last Thursday night against the absolutely sad sack Las Vegas Raiders, who have invented new ways to lose games in an excruciating manner. And then the Eagles' path to the number 1 seed, we'll be talking about that too. But I think it's pretty simple right now. The Eagles are in the midst of a 3-game road swing here, which started in New York last week, goes to Chicago this week, and then concludes in Dallas on Christmas Eve, which obviously is a huge game. But I think if the Eagles win 2 more, they got it. They have a 2-game lead on both Minnesota and Dallas. Yeah, so I think if the Eagles win 2 more, they've already beaten Dallas and they've already beaten Minnesota. So between the Bears, Cowboys, and then home games against the Saints and Giants, I would be utterly shocked if Philadelphia doesn't win 2 of them and lock up a number 1 seed. They may need to win 3, depending upon what Dallas and Minnesota do. But I just don't see any way the Eagles blow this 1 seed. Now, it's happened. I do not see it happening here. I think Philadelphia richly deserves it, and I think they're going to get it. And, of course, it's always valuable. Only one team gets that week off. And the odds are very, very, very strong where the number 1 seed off the week off wins the following week. There are upsets, but it's usually Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So I don't see Philadelphia doing that. But Xander, if we could, let's talk about playoff seeding for just a minute. If you want to bring up those standings for me, starting, I guess, whichever one you got, AFC or NFC. In the NFC, talking about playoff seeds, you can see that it's Philadelphia, Minnesota is the 2 seed. Then you have 3 of San Francisco at 9 and 4. And look at Tampa Bay not locking up, but sitting on the 4 seed at 6 and 7 off a disastrous 35-7 loss to San Francisco. The NFC South is a mess. Carolina looking like the best team in the division at a robust 5 and 8. Dallas is a 5 seed, I think, locked up. And then right now, the 6 and 7 are Washington and the Giants because Seattle lost last week to Carolina. So 7 seed is going to be a bad team. I'll tell you that in the NFC anyway, playoff wise. Detroit also coming on, but I think it's too little, too late. In the AFC right now, the 1 seed is Buffalo because they beat Kansas City earlier in the season. Kansas City sits as the 2 seed. Most people though think the Chiefs are the better team right now. 3 seed, you got to watch out now for the Bengals. I think the Bengals are coming on strong. I think they're going to pass the Ravens, who are a remarkable 9 and 4, given how they never score 20 points a week. And then you have the AFC South is almost as bad as the NFC South. Tennessee coming off a lousy game and a surprising home loss to Jacksonville last week, sitting at 7-6, still 2 games up in that division. So that's your playoff seeding right now. It's both conferences, I think, and I think Sal will agree, are top heavy right now. I think you have some really good teams at the top. Philadelphia and Dallas in the NFC. And Minnesota lost to Detroit last week. I think everybody thinks the Vikings are half frauds. And in the AFC, I think it's going to be Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and I think everybody else is play acting. So that's your playoff seed look right now. But how about we bring this gentleman on right now, Xander, which the host of the NFL Matchup Show and ESPN national correspondent, my good friend Sal Paolantonio. Sal, how you doing?
Another week of This Week in Pro Football with Pat Callahan. I love it. Thank you.
Wait a moment. I know, Sal, and you make it a hell of a lot better. I want to assure you. Most of those followers and listeners that I'm talking about, at least relative to my show, I know are coming on to see what you have to say. But
congratulations, by the way, to JAKIB Media Sports. Incredible growth. I think largely probably has to do with the fact that it's got quality programming, 1, and 2, people want to just gobble up any bit of news about the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's the truth. That is the truth. The Eagles are the story. Phillies keep trying to elbow their way in with free agent signings, but when you're sitting at 12-1 and you're just dominating everybody, you deserve it. You deserve the 3-inch headlines, and the Eagles are getting them right now. So let's touch on Sal. There's a number of things I want to go through with you, but in these few minutes before our first break, the Eagles go into Chicago. I mentioned a trap game now. I mean, but this team, I don't know. Do the Eagles have a mentality that even allows them to suffer a trap game?
I don't think this is a trap game. This team is too good and too focused. This quarterback is on too much of a mission. You heard him this week. They try to, lob Micah Parsons questions at him, and he just said, "I'm focused on the Bears."
Right.
And man, doesn't that sound like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? I mean, and he played for Nick Saban. This is the mentality that he has brought to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, and he sticks with it. And they dispatched the Giants last week, Sal, 48-22. It wasn't even that close. I wanted to ask you, too, that in the NFC East, Dallas nearly stumbled last week against Houston. Matter of fact, they were very close to stumbling, losing up until the final minute and a half when Zeke Elliott scored a late touchdown. Is that emblematic, in your opinion, of a significant gap between the Eagles and the Cowboys, or did the Cowboys just have a one-off day?
Well, I think the biggest difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys is the quarterback position. Jalen Hurts only has 3 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes has 11, by the way, if you want to get into the MVP debate. He's got 11 interceptions. Only Davis Mills and Matt Ryan have more among the starters.
Yep.
Now, Dak Prescott's had 8 interceptions since he returned from the injury. 8 alone since he returned. And Jalen Hurts has only 3. To me, that's the big difference. It's the old adage, if your quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, it's like having a number 4 hitter in baseball who doesn't strike out.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a lot of football games and have an opportunity to win a lot of games. For me, Pat, and I know I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent, Jalen Hurts is the hands-down MVP of this league going into Week 15. The Eagles have the best record at 12-1. They have scored the most points per game. They have the highest point differential. He's accounted for 32 touchdowns, second only to Mahomes' 33, but like I said, only 3 interceptions. He has the highest quarterback rating in the league. The object of the game is to score points and to win games. And Jalen Hurts has done that better than any other quarterback in the NFL.
Yep. And along with that, and maybe this is what Micah Parsons was trying to say, I think it's kind of a 10% of team by myself, but what Parsons seemed to be saying is that there are other elements to that team and why they're so successful. It is an odd thing, Sal, I think. You look at San Francisco, excellent defense, and to me, an underperforming offense for the same reason as you say, the quarterback position is vacant. And you have other teams, strong teams. You mentioned the Cowboys, good defense. Now they're a little shaky at quarterback. The Eagles don't have any shaky position, Sal, seemingly anywhere on either the offense or the defense.
Well, I think you have to really focus on Hurts. I mean, this is Hurts' team. This is Hurts' NFL season. I mean, we have rarely seen this kind of dominant performance at the quarterback position where you're 12-1 and you're a dual threat quarterback who can win from the pocket. Everything, and I've got a whole bunch of notes on Jalen Hurts that I have observed on film study and that we have analyzed here at NFL Films. And it's quite amazing. You know, he's seeing the field better. You know, his decisiveness, the ball is coming out. I have never seen this, Pat. I've covered the game for 30 years. Last year, he was snapped to throw well over 3 seconds, near the bottom of the NFL. This year, snapped to throw under 2.5 seconds, third in the NFL among starting quarterbacks.
There you go.
Pat, it's a remarkable turnaround.
Yeah, it is.
And that comes from study, Pat. Yeah. Real schoolwork. I'm talking about real hard study. Yeah. You just don't – that just doesn't happen overnight like that. It just doesn't. You got to get in the film room. You got to get hard coaching from your coaches. You got to grind through that. Yep. You got to be smart enough to pick it up. And he's got all of those factors, every single one of them.
Yep. Well, when we get back, Sal, I want to touch too on the MVP race, and I think Hurts deserves it too. But I'm going to state my case as to why Patrick Mahomes is always mentioned, always, and will always be in the discussion. Sometimes It's unfair. So we'll do that. I also want to look at the other game in the NFC East this week, the so-called playing game between the Commanders and the Giants, and we'll look around the league. All this with Sal Paolantonio coming up next on This Week in Pro Football.
First Bank is a true community bank with offices located throughout eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Being a First Bank customer comes with access to personal bankers, ones who know you and your business almost as well as you do. Joe Calabro is a regional president of First Bank and has been a leader and a lender in the southeastern Pennsylvania market for over 30 years. Call their Westchester office, 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at ugies.com.
Cantor Novak Beaver and Pike is a full-service CPA firm with offices in PA and New Jersey, offering first-rate accounting, audit, and tax services. They focus on helping clients achieve their business and financial goals, from startup operation to long-term financial planning. For more information, call Terry Cantor or Dan Pike at 215-550-2954 or on the web at cnbpcpas.com.
Are you looking for a family-friendly fitness center in the heart of Bucks County? Spring Mill Athletic Club has programs and activities to offer the whole family for every age and season. Group classes, personal training, dance academy, summer camp, and more can be found at this non-intimidating environment. Come tour Spring Mill Athletic Club today and get a free one-week trial membership. Visit us at springmillathletic.com for more information.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
All right, welcome back this week in Pro Football, week number 15, the National Football League here on JAKIB Sports. The great Sal Paolantonio joining me here. Sal, during that break, I was just trying to amplify what you were saying. But here's the point I make about Mahomes and why he's always in this discussion. Did you see the play last week? He's running parallel to the line of scrimmage. He's escaping the rush, and he literally lobs the ball over the head of a Denver defender into the hands of Jerick McKinnon, who proceeds to run 55 yards for a touchdown. Mahomes makes those 4 o'clock window plays that end up on SportsCenter and others, whereas Hurts is just methodically winning games by wide margins. But I think that's why you'll never not see Mahomes' name in that conversation.
Oh, and Patrick Mahomes deserves to be in the conversation for sure. And, we are in week 15, Pat, so there's plenty of time to go. At this moment in time, though, Jalen Hurts is, to me, odds-on favorite to win the MVP and should win it. And, people come to your show, have always come to your show looking for specifics. And I think it's very important to look at specifics when it comes to Jalen Hurts. Right now, I have been in locker rooms and I've been talking to coaches my entire career. And this year, after every game, I've gone to players and defensive coaches that have faced the Eagles and said, okay, what happened? Why didn't you stop him? So here specifically is what they're looking at. Number one, he's very fast and very elusive when he runs the ball, but he's also very tough and strong. When he squats upwards of 450 to 475 to 500 pounds. He's a very strong runner. He's not like Michael Vick, who was just an absolute speedster.
Right.
Jalen Hurts is a strong runner, so they're not ready for his strength and his shiftiness and his speed. Secondly, what guys are seeing is Jalen Hurts realizes no matter what defense you play against him, like, okay, let's look at the Giants. They tried to spy him.
Yeah.
Number 55, Jaheed Ward. They used him on several plays to spy him. And Wink Martindale looked at it and said, you know what? It's not working. First of all, Hurts is much faster. Second of all, you're taking a guy out of coverage. He's killing our zone defense in passing game.
Right.
So they abandoned that. So you try him rushing with 4, have 2 linebackers, 5 out in the coverage. That doesn't work. The only thing that has worked against Hurts, and for some reason, Pat, and it's important for people to realize this because this is coming in the playoffs. When you blitz Jalen Hurts, there is a possibility of upsetting this Eagles defense, the offense. Detroit did it early going week one. Way back in week one, they were successful.
Right.
Cowboys did it in the first half in Philadelphia when they lost to the Eagles. Giants did it a little bit because Hurts will take sacks, 36 sacks. He won't turn the ball over. That's obviously a coaching point between Hurts, Sirianni, and Steichen.
Right.
He'll take sacks, but he won't turn the ball over. So if you're not blitzing Jalen Hurts, you're really wasting your time, honestly.
Yeah. Yep. He has taken the number of sacks, but the stats otherwise, like you had pointed out, completion percentage, he is fourth, Mahomes 15, and yards per completion, Hurts is third in the league in yards per completion. And that tells you a lot, right? It tells you that, yeah, he's not throwing 60 times a game, but when he does, it means something. And the other thing, Sal, that I noticed about him, and because you were talking about this earlier in the season, is that read option. He seems to be, there's very little hesitation this year in handing the ball off to Miles Sanders, who's having a heck of a year. He's having a career year. But I think you're seeing now a little bit less wear and tear on Jalen Hurts. They're handing that ball off, and they're getting a lot of success out of it.
Yeah, the RPOs are working. The zone reads are working. He's been better against the blitz. He has no interceptions against the blitz all year long. None. 12 touchdown passes and no interceptions, but he will take sacks. Yeah. But he won't take the big negative plays. And that is something that Sirianni is pounding and Shane Steichen is pounding. We don't want the interceptions, and it's working. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's very tough to defend against this guy right now. I really do.
Yeah. Well, it's the old.
Pat, people accuse me of being an Eagles fan. I didn't grow up in Philadelphia. Right. I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm a fan of this player because of the way he handles himself on and off the football field.
Right. Well, it's the old Herm Edwards, any drive that ends with a kick is not bad. So I guess you're right about taking the sacks, but he is taking a number of them. But boy, as you point out, the Eagles have three guys. They're the only team in the league, 3 guys with 10 touchdowns. 10 have scored 10 touchdowns. It would be Hurts.
So how are you going to beat this team?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know right now. I mean, I think they're going to beat Chicago, and I think they're going to beat Dallas. I do.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we'll spend a minute. Let's talk about the 3-10 Bears, who obviously are.
1 minute, Pat. Let's go 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay.
3-10 Bears. They lost 6 straight, Pat.
I know, 6 straight, and Justin Fields for a while. Fields
at all from Chicago.
Yeah,
there'll be more resistance from the wind off of Lake Erie. That's more. Lake Michigan.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the Bears do not present much of a threat to the Eagles. Only if as I mentioned or teased in the beginning, whether the Eagles were completely looking south to Dallas before this game even started. It's the old adage, Sal. If you give a 3-10 team reason to hang around in the first quarter, now you might have a problem. But I think if the Eagles bring the hammer down early, I think it'll be just like last Sunday's game.
And, here's the funniest thing. So the Eagles lead the league in points scored in the first quarter and are outscoring the opposition by almost 2-1 in the first half. And the Titans win the coin toss and give the Eagles the football.
I know. Isn't that something how that's happened now? Now it's the default position, just to kick off, even if you're kicking off to the best offensive team in the league. Yeah.
Why would you do that? I don't understand it. So, I mean, the Eagles will get up on Chicago, and Justin Fields will have to try to throw to get back in the game, and it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And, 75% of the games are won by the team leading at halftime. 75% in NFL history.
Yeah, unless you're the Raiders. Okay,
that's very good, Pat.
That's it. Yeah, they're the other 25.
Yes.
All right, Sal. Let's look at that other game. You're talking with the great Sal Paolantonio, the author of How Football Defines America and the host of the NFL Matchup Show. Sal, the Giants and Commanders hooking up again off a bye week for Washington, and the Giants just getting blown out by Philadelphia. I think the Giants are almost out of gas. How do you see this game Sunday night?
Well, the fact that it's at night and in Washington, I think it's a tough sledding for the Giants. First of all, the Commanders' defense is very underrated. They lead the NFL in hits on the quarterback in half of the last 5 weeks. That's hits, knockdowns, and sacks. So when you put hands on the quarterback, and that to me is the most important stat defensively because of the way the game is officiated now in the National Football League, and because if you get up early and you have to force the other team to throw against you, they hit the quarterback, Pat, more than any other team for the last 5 weeks. And they've got some playmakers, and Taylor Heineke can distribute the ball, and he's doing it very, very quickly. So I like Washington a lot in this game. I'd be absolutely shocked if they didn't win this game and win it easily, really.
Giants 0-3-1, Sal, in their last 4. They're averaging 20 points a game, and they have a minus 33-point differential. And I think Saquon Barkley is almost on E. There's something wrong with him, and if he's not healthy.
No, there is for sure, no question. I mean, he's got that stinger neck injury. He hurt it in practice last Wednesday, but boy, oh boy, they couldn't block Brandon Graham.
I know.
And in my view, Washington is just as good up front and younger and faster.
Yeah. All right, so I want to just hit on a couple other divisions here with you. I got a couple minutes left here to get your take. Tampa
we can do
Bay,
the whole hour together.
Tampa Bay goes into San Francisco last week and gets run into the Bay. Basically 35-7, Sal. If you watched any of it, I don't think it was that close against a third-string quarterback. And I think Tampa Bay looked old, stiff, uninterested. Other than that, they were ready to go. The NFC South is a disaster. The AFC South is a disaster. But tell me, what is this Tampa Bay team? Are they even a playoff threat at this point, assuming they want to win that division?
No, they're not a threat. There's no chemistry or timing between Tom Brady and his 2 top wide receivers. And that's a major problem because they're throwing it 50, 52, 54 times a game.
Yep.
And, of course, that's a big mistake with a 45-year-old quarterback on the road. It's just dumb. So they've totally lost their way. I don't know what's going to happen to Tom Brady next season, but whatever it is, he's got to fix what's currently going on with him.
There's some fascinating decisions are going to be made in the offseason, Sal, I think, with some of these aging quarterbacks. It's funny how the age caught up. I mean, it looked like it was going the other way. These guys were, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. They seemed like they were just going to go on and name their retirement age. Well, it seems like something else has intervened, and it'll be a fun offseason seeing what happens with all those names.
Pat, your statistic was so telling. There have been 54 different starting quarterbacks this year in the National Football League. Is that the number that you had?
Yep, that's the number.
So I didn't realize it was that high. I knew it was high, but that's the reason why right now in the NFL, points scored per game, per team is at a 5-year low.
Right.
The NFL knows it has a problem.
Right.
With points scored. That's why Troy Vincent said on NFL Network this week from the owners' meetings in Texas that they may review roughing the passer, may make it a reviewable penalty.
Right.
But they realize they've got to do a better job of protecting quarterbacks. They just do.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And quarterbacks have to do a better job of protecting themselves.
That's true. Well, we talked about that a minute ago. And that's why one of the things I think Jalen Hurts, along with 50 other things he's doing well, he's doing that well too, by handing the ball off. Let those other guys do it. And I think it's working well, and he looks great.
Distribute the ball like a point guard. He's got plenty of weapons.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert is very close to coming back. Right. I think this team is trending up.
Yeah. At 12-1, they're trending up. So, I mean, that is a heck of a barometer. Yeah. So, all right, Sal, we have blown through this segment. As you said, we could talk for the whole hour. And one of these days, I'm going to insist you do it. But thank you very much for spending this time with me. And where are you doing any play-by-play this week? Or you?
No, Pat, I do 4 a year, and last week was my last one. Great. There's only so much this old man can do, Pat.
All right. Well, I appreciate that very much and look forward to talking to you next week, Sal. All right.
Pat, I'm going to take Christmas week off, and we will talk on the flip side of Christmas, Pat.
All right. Terrific. We'll have a
Merry Christmas to you and your family, and to everybody who watches This Week in Pro Football, and everybody at JAKIB Media Sports. Thank you for having me, and Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
All right, Sal. Well done. Thank you very much, Sal Pal, joining us there. And I tell you, he's bullish on the Philadelphia Eagles, certainly. And why not? Why wouldn't you be a team that I believe is head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC? And hopefully no stumbles in the immediate future. All right, when we get back, my arch nemesis, Tony Cutillo, is going to join me. We're going to talk some playoff fantasy football and some Week 14 busts that dragged a lot of people into the abyss. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football.
I grew up in a home, and I wanted my kids to have that. The process of buying a home seemed so daunting, but Christine and M&T believed in me. Everyone took an interest and helped me through the process. You don't get this kind of service everywhere. I closed on the house and I didn't tell the kids. They were like, oh, you got the key? You closed on the home? They were so happy. M&T Bank made this dream come true for me and my girls.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at UGIES.com.
At Whistler Pearlstein LLP, we assemble the most effective team to handle all of your legal needs. There are players and pretenders, but our hustle and heart set us apart. In practice now for over 75 years, we're proud to be one of the most prominent full-service law firms in the Philadelphia region. We offer 17 different areas of practice, including business, corporate, and tax education law, real estate, zoning, and land development, municipal law, and litigation. Our top-rated attorneys and staff are laser-focused on client success. We strive to provide outstanding legal counsel with the highest level of care and consideration. Let us show you the Whistler way. Learn more at WhistlerPearlstein.com or email Michael J. O'Donohue at mod@WhisPearl.com. WhistlerPearlstein.com or mod@WhisPearl.com.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
It was late at night. I was browsing KennedyAuto.com when there was a knock at my door.
Hey, baby, what you doing?
Buying a car from John Kennedy Ford.
Online?
I let her in on the secret. KennedyAuto.com makes car buying easy. That got her attention.
Can I go for a ride?
Let me get my coat. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
All right, welcome back this week in pro football here on JAKIB Sports. Pat Callahan joining you to preview Week 15, the National Football League. And how about we bring this guy on, Xander? I can't avoid it's a sponsored segment, so I got to do it. And that would be my good friend, the Jigsaw, Tony Cutillo, joining me to talk some fantasy. Tony, how you doing?
I'm great, Pat. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, just great. Presented by Concrete Cutting Systems. Tony, listen, I just want to reiterate to you again, no big money spent on the Christmas gift this year. I want you to tone it down. All right. A little bit too elaborate. So just a couple thousand. Let's set the max at a couple thousand. All right. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll do what I can.
All right. Listen, if I told you, Tony, in September that your top 10 running backs and receivers this week would include Zonovan Knight and Isaiah Pacheco and Garrett Wilson, you'd have bought off on that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I write my preseason projections 100%, right? Yeah. I'm telling this has been the weirdest year. It really has. I feel like every game, Pat, I know you do the same thing. We're watching it. It's like, oh, another player down. Oh,
Yeah.
he's getting carted off.
I know.
Oh, this guy's in the blue tent, right?
I know.
It's
I know.
crazy.
But this is why, Tony, you and I have talked off and on about the league. I in my dinosaur league,
Dinosaur.
but it's based on points, total points that you accumulate over a year. I think it's a superior way than playing somebody each week. You get into these games now, you're into the playoff games, and you got, if you were high up in the season and you couldn't avail yourself of that waiver wire, and somebody else is grabbing the Zonovan Knights of the world, what are you going to do in week 15?
Yeah, you're really going to have to penny pinch too. And the funny thing is, in best ball, these best ball leagues, if you're familiar with them, the thing is you're really stretching your picks because you can't make any waiver claims anyway. So unless you had some of these guys on your roster, you really had nobody left to play.
I know. Boy, and last week, it was a shame. Like, you're into a playoff game, you make it, you sit down. Okay, DJ Moore, the choice matchup against Seattle's defense. Tua going against a beat-up Chargers defense. The always reliable Nick Chubb, and they all come up like zero. And what do you do? Nothing you can do about it.
Nick Chubb's scaring me, man. I don't like that. It's almost like they injected Deshaun Watson into the team, and then all of a sudden they don't know how to call game. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Stefanski, what are you doing? Go back to what works. It's run the damn ball.
Yeah, right.
That's all, and 2.7 yards per carry, 1.4 yards per carry the week before. I'll tell you, Nick Chubb's scaring me a little bit. That offense is scaring me a little bit right now.
Tony, I was talking with Sal Pal about the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, is there any Tampa Bay Buck who you are starting this weekend in fantasy?
I like Rachaad White. I'm going to continue to start Rachaad White. And only because, now again, Pat, I know you have to have a PPR league. I don't know if the Dinosaur League is a PPR league. Okay,
it is not.
But
it's not a half point. It's not an eighth
league,
of a point or a 3.85 point PPR. No.
Okay. 1 point per reception. That's all we need. If you're in a 1 point per reception league, you got to play Rachaad White. If you've noticed, he just continues to get 4 to 5 looks every game. Some games he's getting 7 or 8. Brady loves to check down to the running back. And honestly, Pat, it's like you can't play Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's only 6,700 in DFS, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just nobody reliable on Tampa Bay.
Oh, they're just not scoring any points. They're not scoring any points at all.
It's bad.
And it just, it is bad. It's amazing. I was talking with Sal about it. It's going to be a fascinating offseason, I think, Tony, this year you got Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. It'll be interesting to see what the Packers do over the last month of the season and whether they have the fortitude, because I think they should, Tony. They should see if this kid is any good. And now's the time to do it.
They won't do it.
No, I don't think they'll do it either.
They won't do it. I agree with you, though. I mean, you got to find out, is Jordan Love your guy? Yeah, you have to. You could talk all the, he looks good in practice. That's not real game speed, right? You got to throw him in to that game speed and see if he can, if he can contribute. I don't know if he can.
I think they're afraid of what Rodgers would then go on Pat McAfee's show and say. And so I think they're going to continue to trot Rodgers out there, I guess, as long as he's willing to do it. Remember, if the Packers lose this week, I don't think they will. They host the Rams on Monday night. I guess that game.
There's been some Monday night stickers, hasn't there?
That game looked good in September, but it sure doesn't now.
I know. My God.
All right, give me a couple of jigsaws. Tell me what you got. Now, this is what we're talking about here is our viewers, and if you were watching earlier in the show, JAKIB Media is coming up with a lot of them, Tony. But so there's a lot of people here that now have pen in hand and are waiting for Cutillo to give them a couple names of guys that they should start that are going to win them a semifinal or a quarterfinal game. So who do you got?
Well, some really good matchup this week. One guy that you're probably down on, I think, in for a really big week, and that's Michael Pittman Jr. Again, he's going up against Minnesota. You saw what Detroit did against them last week, right? I like Alan Lazard against the Rams, a guy everybody's going to be focused on Watson and the Rams. The secondary is not the same. And then some really bargain basement guy. Give me some Elijah Moore from the Jets going up against Detroit. That defense can stop anybody. You see what KJ Osborne did for Minnesota?
Yeah.
Cam Akers. I love Cam Akers this week against Green Bay. Man, 2 double-digit weeks for Cam Akers, and Green Bay can't stop me or you running through the line. And give me Pacheco. Give me Pacheco in Kansas City. Bounce back game against Houston. That McKinnon game was a fluke. It's all Pacheco out there in KC.
No, that McKinnon, I had him last week. In one of the two leagues, I was out of guys, literally out of guys. So I had to put McKinnon in there. And next thing you know, he comes out, he rumbles. God almighty, it was unbelievable. But that's the kind of thing. That's why I said head-to-head games like that, those formats, they are so arbitrary. It's ridiculous.
They are.
Yeah.
They
How
really
did I
are.
lose? I was 12-0, but I lost the first round. Why? Because some guy played Jarek McKinnon. Oh, my God. It's like.
Oh, I'll give you the worst one, though, real fast. So I had a guy in my league who was down by 1 point. 1 point for the playoffs in the first week of the playoffs. He was down 1 point, had Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray got one play. He lost by 0.33.
Oh my God. That is, that's brutal. That is brutal.
Brutal. He was already punching his ticket.
Yeah. I wonder what that turf is too in Arizona.
Ooh.
Does this season not strike you, Tony, as a season with the most non-contact ACL or MCL injuries you've ever seen?
A lot, a whole lot. And the funny thing is, I thought they changed all these playing surfaces.
Right.
I know.
It's
you're
not
right.
Like
the vet.
Yeah, the vet. Or you remember the old Houston Astrodome or whatever?
The Astrodome.
Right.
My Lord. So I'm surprised because Arizona has that. They wheel that field in and out. I mean, so I'm really surprised. It's just been a weird, twisty, turny year for. I think it's the way they're getting tackled. They put all those rules in play. You can't touch the quarterback and you can't hit them hard. So they're trying to tackle different ways and things are happening. But the non-contact injuries,
and you don't know how much. You don't know how much, Tony, the lack of a preseason maybe has something to do with it too. I don't know. You're right. It could be a number.
Something's going on though.
I was
if we find out, we'll get that $2,000.
I know. I was talking with Sal too. We've been joking all season how we have upgraded the sartorial presence here on this program with sharp dress, it's like me with the sport coach and everything. But you have outdone everybody. Look at that this week in pro football shirt that Cutillo is sporting there.
Got to represent, man. Got to represent.
Yeah. So I should start selling this. Just send me $129.99, and I will send you your own This Week in Pro Football shirt.
And if you act now, you get two. Right? You get two.
Now, that's like
for
$140. Hold it. All right. While they last, of course.
Absolutely.
Right, well, Tony, listen, I love the names you gave me. Akers, Pittman, Lazard, Elijah Moore. I will be looking for them, and I think that's very helpful, and I appreciate it very much. Appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you're going to join me next week, right? You're not off to some exotic climb to duck away for Christmas.
But, now I'm broke, so I got to be in front of the screen.
Good job. Appreciate it very much, Tony, and look forward to talking to you next week then, pal.
Sounds good, Pat.
All right. The great Tony Cutillo joining us here to talk some fantasy. Speaking of great, Sean Green. The call has been made to the bullpen. Green has answered. He's now strutting out just like Charlie Sheen did in Major League. So here comes Sean Green. We're going to talk about some overs and unders. We haven't talked about that really all season, and the other games that Sean likes and some props. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at UGIES.com.
For the team at Cordasco Financial Network, a part of Mercer Advisors, financial planning is about more than just managing your money. They guide you in making retirement, tax, insurance, and estate planning decisions by creating a plan based entirely on your individual needs. Plus, Cordasco Financial Network professionals work one-on-one with business owners in creating and managing company 401k plans, IRAs, and defined benefit plans. They can help you maximize plan efficiency, ensure full regulatory compliance, and optimize tax obligations. Call 855-558-3500 or click the link in the description below to learn more. Let their team help you secure your future. 855-558-3500. Cordasco Financial Network is a trade name owned by Mercer Global Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Andrew Garrett Incorporated, which is not affiliated with Cordasco Financial Network or Mercer Advisors. Client experiences vary. Successful outcomes not guaranteed.
Johnny Apple's restaurant and bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
All right, welcome back to This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan here on JAKIB Sports. Please give me a follow at TWIPF Pat on Twitter. You can follow the network at JAKIB Sports. You can follow this guy at Sean Green, the host and owner of the Sports Gambling Podcast on an excellent website. That'd be the great Sean Green. Sean, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Eagles are 12-1. Can't complain. Life is good.
No, they dispatched the New York Giants, and I think dispatch is the right word. That wasn't that close, right?
No, I mean, yeah, if it wasn't, they got a garbage touchdown late and then another touchdown because of that, fumbled punt snap. But other than that, it was just they pushed them around. We're able to throw on them. We're able to run on them. I mean, this team is really – kind of coming into shape here.
Oh my God, it's funny you use that phrase. I mean, even Sal said when he was on, the Eagles are on the rise. And if you look at a team that's 12-1, and to say that they're on the rise, I mean, where are they going? I mean, how much higher can they go?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas Goedert got injured, and the offense has somehow gotten better, and the defense is clicking. They've seemed to patched up their issues with the run defense. So, I mean, they're in a great spot right now.
Are you at all threatened by the monsters of the Midway?
Well, now in a vacuum, this Bears game is not scary at all. But in the National Football League, nothing's in a vacuum. So the Eagles know that number 1 seed, they got to get that win against Dallas to really lock things up. So maybe there's a chance this team looks ahead a little bit. I think that's the biggest concern, especially if you're looking to play the spread there at -9.
Yeah.
That's the only way I see them getting distracted. But especially as of late, this team looks pretty focused, especially with the MVP leader right now in the clubhouse odds-wise, Jalen Hurts.
I think, Sean, 2 things on what you just said. One is that Sal pointed out the Eagles lead the league in first quarter scoring. And I think when you're playing a team that's 3-10 and, maybe the golf clubs are already in the trunk, just get on them early. Get on them early and tell them, nope, not today. So I think the Eagles have proven they're good at that. The second thing is you mentioned about the MVP. Are there odds right now out there that you could quote as to this ongoing discussion between Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and possibly Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen, I think, is pretty cooked right now. I wouldn't take Josh Allen. Him and Tua are 25-1 to win MVP. Joe Burrow is 8-1. Patrick Mahomes is 2-1, and Jalen Hurts is the odds-on favorite of -175. I mean, I'm a huge Hurts fan, but I think if you're betting it now, him at MVP, like laying -175 isn't really a great bet. Mahomes could get there. I think Burrow at 8-1 maybe is kind of interesting because the price is so big.
Yeah.
If they kind of win out and he continues to shine, and people like him. They like his story.
Right.
I think he's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Hurts, they may be resting. If they win against Chicago and against Dallas, they lock up the number 1 seed. So it'll be interesting to see if they play their starters. So
I know.
that's why, that's again, like, as much as I love Hurts, I wouldn't be betting his MVP right now.
All right. That's going to be interesting because I know I have Hurts. He's my fantasy quarterback, and I'm right there. But boy, if they win these next 2, you're right. Yeah, that's
yeah. You're in a weird spot.
I know. I know about that. Listen, speaking of the Eagles and the Bears, then Sean, are there any props in that game that have you interested? Eagles Bears.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I just continue to play Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. I think I gave it out last time I was on. He got in there. He's their goal line back, and this offense gets a ton of goal line looks. I think he is a great value. So yeah, Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. It's usually right around even money, but he's been great at that.
The Eagles have scored 50 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
So he is, you can say he's their goal line back, but Miles Sanders with 10 touchdowns himself. So it's really, they're just scoring so many touchdowns that each of he and Sanders both have 10.
Yeah, it's crazy because Miles Sanders had 0 last year.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to get some just because of regression there, but 10 is he's having a career year in a contract year.
Talking with Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast, Bet SGPN. Everybody, check this thing out. It's absolutely outstanding. Sean, one thing I've never talked with you about is the over-under. Like we don't really talk about it when we do the picks. 2 games I thought were of interest to me in terms of over-under. First being the Sunday night game, and the other one the Monday night. The Sunday night game, Giants and Commanders. I mean, is the over-under like 16 and a half in this game, or what? I mean, the Giants, I posited earlier with Sal, I think the Giants are out of gas.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't see this number being high at all.
Yeah, the Giants, they started out great, kind of hit a wall. Yeah. They had to scheme up some gimmick stuff, right? They're playing without a ton of talent. Right now, I'm seeing the total at 40.5. So even at 40.5, I could look to the under. Yeah. In primetime games, especially in division games, the under has been great this season. So I think even at 40.5, if you're playing the total, I think you got to look to the under.
23-10 Washington. And that right there. I mean, I just can't see the Giants. The Giants are not going to score 20 points in that game unless they get a freak defensive score. The other one is a Monday nighter, Sean, the Rams and the Packers. It's going to be about 9 degrees there in Green Bay. The 2-4-9 teams. I don't see much going on here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, the number has gotten so low. I almost think you could make a case for the over. It's 39.5. So the fact that we've seen some explosive plays from Christian Watson, the fact that the Packers haven't played great defense, you might get some garbage scores against this Packers defense. I mean, the fact that it's that low, I think I would kind of lean over. Although, again, like primetime games, the under has been great. But I would actually, at 39.5, I would go slight over there just because I do think Christian Watson and they might get a couple plays against this Rams defense.
All right. Okay. Now, listen, before we get to the picks, there's one other controversy, I guess, for want of a better word, I just wanted to run by you and the effect of how you look at the NFL's product and trying to make picks. And that is this recent spate of injury issues here. T. Higgins last week of the Bengals. Now, he allegedly got hurt again in pregame warmups or whatever, but then he plays one play and leaves. Now, forget the fantasy implications, which were enormous. But then the other thing along with that, Sean, was the Saints. I don't think this was publicized very much. The NFL fining the Saints $500,000 for what they perceived to be fake injuries at the Saints. And I forget who they were playing. I don't know if it was a Monday night game or whatever, but the Saints were playing.
Yeah, I think it was Saints Bucks. Yeah,
it's Saints Bucks, and and all of a sudden, Saint players were hitting the ground. Just give me your thoughts on that, just in terms of do you think that actually happened? Do you think now that teams are actually faking those injuries, and how does it affect the way you look at a game?
Oh yeah, 100%. They definitely fake injuries. And the one, the Saints guy was great because they were going to have 12 men on the field. The guy counted, had 12, and then immediately went down. So when they see you counting and then you immediately fall down, I think you have a tough case, right?
Yeah,
And that's the other thing. Like I want them to take, you should be fined for faking an injury. And I think that's why they gave him this massive fine. I'm sure they're going to appeal it and they'll probably get it knocked down a little bit. But the problem is, like, how do you determine whether or not he's faking it, right? Like, the NFL guys are hurt and injured almost every play on the game. Like everyone on that field right there, especially, week 15, they have some injury. So what do you go to injury court and, swear under oath that you were hurt? Like, it's really tough to litigate. So I think the NFL's idea was like, hey, we'll throw a massive fine and just hope that it discourages it. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it has like a massive impact on the game as far as betting and stuff like that. It's just something that slows down some of the hurry up
it does,
stuff and stuff like that. So,
but the NFL, and of course, in terms of age, I probably double you up. But the league used to be very, very studious and conscientious about, who's probable, who's questionable, who's doubtful, who's out. And the list had to be out by Thursday. And they really came down on teams. Like, remember Bill Belichick, he had 45 guys on the injury. Yeah. And the league severely discouraged that because they didn't want gamblers to have any advantage over the average guy when it came to that information. Now, Sean, it seems to me that it's much more problematic that a guy who's seemingly supposed to play all of a sudden doesn't, like a Higgins, or another guy's questionable, but then he plays. The league seems now to be having more. Is it just my perception, or is the league having more of a problem with teams being forthright about injuries?
Yeah, I think what's happening too is that they're, everyone, myself included, has a Twitter, thinks they have information. True. So you're hearing way more voices. And if one guy says, hey, my buddy's the equipment manager, and they tweet that out, they randomly get some steam. So I think before it was that there were more official channels, right? You're reading the newspaper, USA Today, hey, here's the injury report, and that's it. There's no one that goes, actually, I printed out my own USA Today and I got a different angle. So I think that's some of what's happening here.
Fair enough. All right, let me get to the picks here. Sean, by the way, presented by the great folks at UGI here. I differ from you on a couple of these, Sean. I'm looking at the website here, the Sports Gambling Podcast. But let me try a theory with you, Sean.
Sure.
The Jets are a pick at home against Detroit. I like the Jets here. I think you do too, right?
Yep.
Now, here's why I like them. I like them because, Detroit is on a roll. But, teams that aren't that great, the roll stops, right? And Detroit's not going to finish the season on like an 8-win tear. At least I don't think. And I think this is a very logical place. It is not a Minnesota. It's not an emotional opponent for the Lions. It's an outdoor opponent. It'll be a cold day in New York. I think this is a perfect place for the Lions to stumble. What do you think?
Yeah, if you're betting the Lions, you're betting at you're buying them all-time high. It's like getting Bitcoin last year. It can only go down, but it's so high.
Very painful. Yep.
They had 3 games where their offense looked good, but they were at home playing subpar defenses. Now it's a non-conference road spot outdoors, as you pointed out, against like a top 5, top 6 defense with the Jets. I think it's going to be a wake-up call for that Lions offense.
Yeah. All right. Well, we happen to like that one. Now, one we don't agree on is Buffalo and Miami. I keep waiting, and of course, if I was actually a betting man, I'd be a lot poorer for it. I keep waiting for that early season Buffalo to show up. But I think this is a chance where they might do it. I think Miami, Sean, at least the last couple of weeks, Miami has not looked good at all. And you're seeing a little bit of old Tua instead of new Tua.
Yeah, I've been all over the map with Tua. I hated him. I thought he was overrated, and then he came in and he balled out. He made me look like an idiot. And then I think they're going to show up against the Chargers, complete whiff there. My angle on taking the Dolphins and liking them at 7.5 is less about liking Tua and the Dolphins and more about not liking what I've seen out of this Bills offense. My co-host Ryan Kramer keeps saying Bills offense isn't the same since they got rid of Brian Dable. So It might be that. It might be Josh Allen's elbow. They're just not. You look at their aggressiveness on first down, average depth of target. It's just not there. They're not as aggressive as they used to be. So I think at the very least, Dolphins can get this back door here at 7.5.
All right.
So I think they can hang around.
All right. I'll tell you this, the Giants offense looks the same since they got Brian Dable. I don't know if Ryan's totally right, but
Dable left the magic in Buffalo, I guess.
The last game I wanted your comment on, Sean, was, and explain this to me, how in the hell the Las Vegas Raiders are basically a pick against New England? Is it because New England is playing 2 West Coast games in a row?
Yeah, I mean, and 2 West Coast games in a row. Josh McDaniels getting up for the guy he used to coach under, and rest disparity, right? So teams coming off Thursday night have been pretty good against the number versus a team on a short week on a back-to-back road spot. So it's a situational thing. I ended up taking the Pats. I don't really love either side. To your point, it's a little fishy, the line.
It's so hard. You just gave an excellent summary of why the line is what it is, but still, having heard all that, I see Belichick on one side, McDaniel on the other. I see a team that's blown 4 double-digit second-half leads versus one of the most cunning coaches and a very strong and point-scoring defense. I'm sorry, I don't see the Vegas side here, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's a rest disparity. It's can the Pats slow down Devontae Adams? The reason I like the Pats the most is they can really stop teams' running game. So I think if the Raiders can't get Josh Jacobs going, you've seen their offense really struggle. So I think that's the Pats' path to victory there.
All right, Sean Green, what else are you working on? Anything else besides this excellent website? What sports have you branched in? I guess pickleball's next. Sean Green's pickleball forecast coming up soon.
Oh, look out. I mean, as soon as they list lines, the Pickleball Gambling Podcast will be coming to SGPN. We are doing a bowl challenge. So, giving away a couple $100 in cash and gift cards. So check that out on the SGPN app. It's free there. And
I did want to ask you that. I'm anxious to get your take on that 5-7 Rice against 6-6 Southern Mississippi Bowl college football. God help us for college football.
Bowls are a real mess now with the opt-outs and transfer portals, but we're going to do our best to pick some winners there.
I don't know how you could do it, Sean. You don't know who's going to play. Anybody who's on a good team who could be a top 20 NFL pick, man, they're going to strap him in his seat. They're not going to let him go anywhere near that bowl game.
Yeah, true.
Boy, that's tough. All right, well, listen, I appreciate the discussion very much, Sean. That was great fun. And I look forward to talking to you again next week, and we'll see as we get closer to the end here, see if the Eagles can keep this magic run up. And I look forward to talking to you about it, all right?
All right, appreciate it. Take it easy, Pat.
All right, Sean Green from the Bet SGPN and the Sports Gambling Podcast. All right, I got to speed this up here. We only got a few minutes left. When we get back, get off my lawn here in defense of season ticket holders. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
UGI
First Bank is a true community bank with offices located throughout eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Being a First Bank customer comes with access to personal bankers, ones who know you and your business almost as well as you do. Joe Calabro is a regional president at First Bank and has been a leader and a lender in the southeastern Pennsylvania market for over 30 years. Call their Westchester office, 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at UGIES.com. Where do you tailgate when your team's away? Join Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill for their first ever Birds Tailgate Party on Sunday, September 25th, starting at noon under the tent. Enjoy a full tailgate buffet from only $26.95 per person, along with specials at the bar. Celebrate with friends cheering on our hometown team. Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill Athletic Club. Visit juddsdining.com for more details.
Evolution Energy Partners has helped hundreds of businesses save millions of dollars on their energy spent. They offer electricity and gas procurement strategies, efficiency audits and engineering and financing solutions, as well as online utility bill management. To learn how your business can save, visit www.evolutionep.com or contact Chuck Herschella at 610-329-8288. Evolution Energy Partners, energy solutions to improve your bottom line.
I want to be a game changer in construction. I want to be able to provide diversity in the workforce, and it starts at the top. I started Rodriguez Construction Group in 2013 with 2 employees, and we're 85 strong today. M&T has been a great partner since day one, providing us the access, the opportunity, the funding to be able to continue our growth. We can change the community in a positive way, one person at a time, one job at a time, and one family at a time. I think M&T Bank is very committed to the community, just like us.
All right. Welcome back here as we wrap up week number 15 in the National Football League here this week in pro football. Pat Callahan joining you. I want to thank everybody for joining my program. The great Sal Paolantonio, Tony Cutillo, Sean Green. Heavy Italian emphasis here on this program. Think about that. But anyway, how about we do a little get off my lawn here as we wrap this up? Because there's a few things here that really rankle me. I guess it doesn't take much. But for instance, did you know that this weekend there are 16 games? There's no more buys, 16 games in the league. Well, 25% of them are not on regular television. The Thursday night game is on Amazon Prime. You got to have that subscription to see Seattle, San Francisco. And then there are 3 games Saturday, all of them on the NFL Network. Now, I was growing up, and many of you, I think, would remember the same thing. There were always Saturday games on CBS. There was one on CBS, maybe one on NBC, depending upon whether it was an AFC or NFC game. Oh, forget it. You got to have the NFL Network subscription. You got to pay for that. It's a premium channel. The trouble is the NFL Network is only the 59th most popular network in the United States right now, with a whopping average monthly of 170,000 viewers. So there's not a lot of people watching the NFL Network, and yet fully 3 of the 16 games this week are on a network that not a lot of people have. And so I don't know what kind of ratings they're going to get, but I think that's a little frustrating. You know, people love NFL football. So how about putting it on a venue where people can watch NFL football? As a corollary to that, what else rankles me is the Saturday night games, or the Saturday games I just alluded to. Indianapolis is at Minnesota at 1 o'clock. Cleveland hosts Baltimore at 4 o'clock. And then Saturday night, Miami travels to Buffalo. That's the night game. 25-degree temperature in Buffalo. Luckily, it's not going to snow. Very little chance of precipitation. But why wouldn't you play the Minnesota game, which is a dome, at 8 p.m. and let the Buffalo Bill fans maybe catch a little sunlight at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Nope. They want Buffalo on at 8 o'clock, and to hell with those 60,000 Buffalo Bills season ticket holders who will now have to sit there and freeze during that game. And, of course, the topper of the weekend, Monday night, December, whatever date that is, the 19th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I mean, that's terrible. Monday night football games in the month of December should be played in warm weather venues or domes. That to me is so elementary, it needn't even be said. Yet here we are, the Rams coming in, the Southern California team coming in to play in 9 degrees will be the temperature at the time of kickoff. And if you Green Bay fans don't like it, well, tough. Well, the average ticket price, resale price right now of an available ticket in Green Bay for that game is $40. Usually you had to murder somebody to get to a Packers game. Now, $40. And I don't know what goof is going to pay $40 to see 2 4-9 teams play each other in 9-degree temperatures. But so be it. How about we look, Xander, if you will, we're going to bring up that Week 15 schedule. because obviously there are some key games in terms of the playoff seeding that we talked about earlier. San Francisco, Seattle, the Thursday night game. Seahawks got to get the ship righted there. They've now slunk out of a playoff spot. Then the 3 Saturday games I just alluded to, which is Baltimore, Cleveland, the Ravens. How they do it, I have no idea. They average less than 20 points a game, and yet they are at 9-4. Some other decent games. I think the Cowboys at the Jaguars. Cowboys better be careful there. Jags are playing good football right now. Sean Green and I talked about the Patriots. They're always a tough out. They play Vegas in the late Sunday window. And then the Sunday night game, as I mentioned before, the Giants and the Commanders. So not a great week of NFL football, but the games do take on, obviously, a great deal more significance. Here we are in week 15. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. I appreciate you very much taking the time to join me here on JAKIB Sports. And we'll have a lot to talk about as we rumble along. Obviously, next week, we'll devote most of the hour. The Eagles at Dallas on Christmas Eve. Obviously, will be a huge game in the NFC and for seeding, and it'll be a fun game to talk about as we roll into Christmas. So we look forward to seeing you all next week on This Week in Pro Football.